going to call to order this October 8th, 2024 meeting of the Selma Town Council. This will be meeting number 2 for the month. We do have a little bit on the agenda today, not too hefty of one, but I think we do have some items to add. But to start, we have a very special guest here with us. Hopefully, grace us with an invocation for this meeting. Commissioner Ted Godwin in the building. If everybody would please stand. Greatest Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I would like to say one thing, Mayor. As Selma prospers and grows, I hope you never lose the sense of community that allows you to put on a hometown festival like you did this past weekend. It was a good railroad days, and the good Lord bless us with good weather. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. And before we do, I'd like for us to take a moment to pause and remember all of our neighbors in the western part of the state. It's got it tough tonight. Let's pray. Our Father God, we are thankful for the blessings of this day, for the blessings of being in Selma, North Carolina, in Johnston County. Lord, our neighbors are in dire straits. We lift them up in prayer, but we also ask for us to be mindful of our opportunities to be a blessing to them, that we might help out in every way we can, not only our prayers, but in tangible ways that we can help raise them up. Tonight, we ask that you imbue our elected leaders with your wisdom, your patience, your courage, that they might make decisions that are beneficial to the town, might help us grow and prosper and feel good about where we are and what we're doing. Forgive us our shortcomings, for it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And Commissioner, if you don't mind, Chief and I had a discussion earlier about how we love when you lead the pledge and remind us of that one special piece. Do you mind tonight?
I would be happy to, be proud to. In the pledge, there is no comma. So we just walk right through it. For those veterans, hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. That brings us into approval of the agenda. And I do know that we have a few items to adjust for this evening. As we discussed at our last meeting, we do want to add the budget amendment to business items for 7A. We've got a 8B for public hearings. We're going to put in there dumpster ordinance, and 8C, an RV ordinance. And then we're also going to add to 9A, part of the attorney's report. We've got a deed to look at for the Max Creech Museum. As part of Mayor's report and recommendations, we're going to make sure we add as a line item 11A, a resolution in support of lead service line inventory, and an ordinance to temporarily amend the fee schedule relates to that conversation we had about code enforcement appeals. Excuse me. Staff, have I missed anything? Anything else we need to add, subtract? Council, is there anything else that you would like to add or subtract? All right, if we believe that covers it. Do I have a motion to approve this agenda with those amendments?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have ourselves an agenda. We don't have any items on the consent agenda. We do have 2 individuals for open forum citizens request. First, we have, and I apologize if I butchered this name, Ulysse Gomez Yoro. in the audience? Is he already taken care of?
Thank you, Liv.
Well, staff is already taking care of it. That's efficiency in the town of Selma. And then we have James Lassiter. Mr. Lassiter, come on up, name and address for the record, and please talk to us.
Mayor, council, staff, I would just like to make two comments. One, I'm gonna piggyback on something Commissioner Godwin said about community. Let's keep community focused really well for us here in Selma. We can too as well. But I wanted to give a shout out to our local police department. My daughter's car was stolen about 3 weeks ago out of my yard. And I did make a report that Saturday morning to the police department. And I got information early Monday that my daughter's car was found from the police department. So we were looking at about a 2-day turnaround, which to me meant a lot to me as a citizen, and to my daughter it meant a lot to her as well. And the car was in good running order, just a few items that was taken away from her car, but I just want to commend the police department for their diligent and finding the car, and the car was right here in Selma too as well. So again, thanks to the police department for that fine work that they did for me. And again, community. That's all I have to say.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Police Department, Town of Selma, second to none. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see here. That'll bring us into, we have no discussion presentations. We do have that business item. We got a budget amendment to look at. Who's gonna take that away? Ms. Samantha, you got that for us? Take a look at budget amendment number 2.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's a little bit, so if you can just bear with me. If you have any questions, let me know, but after I get through kind of what's going on first. So the first thing, we are amending the general fund budget. And the first option is we have refuse collection fees were recorded in the general fund in this year's budget. They are actually a sanitation fund amount, so we need to move that money out of general fund, so that's where we have the fund balance appropriation for that $800,000. The second item is insurance proceeds and maintenance repair, so we are increasing that revenue line for insurance $13,275 and increasing the expense to repair a fire truck that was damaged, and insurance paid us that money. So the reason we're doing this, I know I've had a couple of questions, is because we have to have a zero balance budget, so when we increase a revenue line item, we have to increase the expense, so that way it's a wash. This is not money we are matching or spending in any way. This is something they've already given us. Second item, property and liability insurance came higher than expected because there were additional items purchased, such as a new fire truck, police vehicles, and that increased. So we just needed to move money to allow us to pay them for that insurance. Moving on to section 2, this is still for the general fund, but this is in regards to purchase orders that were either rolled over or not rolled over for this last fiscal year to this fiscal year. There are a handful of purchase orders that we had approved in July to roll over from last year because they were in the budget and we had not received the items yet. We did have a couple of them that were received after this budget amendment was approved and was rolled back to last year. So instead of moving the money forward, we're just gonna leave it where it was because it was already spent. And then this year, anything that was not rolled over and should have that we received this fiscal year, we're rolling those over. Do you have any questions on those specifically? Okay. After that, we're moving on to section 3. We are amending the budget for facility improvements project budget. We received $3.1 million from the state for construction to improve facilities throughout the town. This money was received last year. We did not spend any of it. We just need to move the money from last year, from that appropriated fund balance to this year, so that way we can actually match the expenses we anticipate. Section 4, the water tank wells and treatment capital project budget. This is for another purchase order that was completed in last year, so we had the money moved over, we just need to move it back to where it was. The water fund budget, that is another property and liability appropriation because there were items purchased for the water department. We want them to pay for their insurance rather than the general fund. Section 6, we're on to 6. The budget for the water fund, 600 for purchase orders rolled over from last year. We are reversing them out because they were, again, completed in 2024. Section 7, we have the budget for the sewer fund. That is to increase the property and liability insurance for items that they had purchased. Section 8, we have the budget for election fund or electric fund. Same thing with the property liability insurance. Section 9, we have the electric fund for purchase orders that were rolled over that were completed last year. And then one of them, the Wesco Junction cabinet, was not completed last year, so we did roll that into this coming fiscal year. That is the remainder of all of the items. Is there any questions that you have regarding anything?
I'd just like to state that we appreciate you folks taking the time to actually make these reports a little more digestible. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm wonky with numbers, so I enjoyed the old reports just the same. But this definitely lays everything out clearly and makes sure that there's a narrative to go along with each piece as well. So that is fantastic. Very much appreciated.
Yes, and this one is so long because we're trying to make sure everything that happened from the beginning of the year to now is corrected and caught up. Not that it was wrong, but just make sure that our budget is in balance. And then hopefully there should not be many of these. If not, they'll be a lot smaller and a little bit more digestible.
We good to go, council?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that's all for our business items. We've got some legislative hearings to look at. Number one, or A. Oh, that's right. So you said those things being on consent, I'm so sorry. We do need to go ahead and adopt this budget amendment. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And again, Samantha, thank you so much. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, getting ahead of myself. Now we're in public hearings and appeals. We've got a public hearing, map amendment related to 110 South Green Street. Mike, you want to take that away?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing this evening is in regards to 110 South Green Street. The specific request is to remove a individual property from the West Selma Historic District. As you know, all three of our historic districts are considered an overlay district. Therefore, removing a property from a district would be considered a map amendment, which requires a legislative hearing. This issue went before the Appearance Commission on June 17th and was recommended to go to Planning Board to review the issue as they would any other map amendment. And on July 22nd, the Planning Board recommended the request as presented. A little bit of backstory. This all originated from a number of unpermitted changes that were made and were unnoticed for some time to the home over the course of several years. On page 7 in the agenda, you'll see how the home used to look versus how it does now. Dalton has those pictures before you. So with all that stated, on our most recent ride-along or field trip with the Appearance Commission, where we got a JCATS bus, rode around the district, and talked about various things, an Appearance Commission member stated that they would like to go back and speak to that applicant to present them some options for potentially staying in the district. Some of those options are, there is, from me and Dalton had a meeting with a member of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, specifically the Historic Properties Division. she explained to me and Dalton that there are various grant monies for property owners who own historic properties. We did inform the applicant of this information. However, concern that myself and staff have is, how we might address this with other property owners in the district. We don't want a domino effect of everybody wanting to get out of the district, right? We want to keep our historic districts historic, and we want to keep them, as they are. But staff will proceed however directed by you guys.
Thank you for the background information. So with that, we do actually have a hearing to take up. So what we will do is I need a motion to open up the public hearing related to this map amendment concerning 110 South Green Street.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So we do have a public hearing open, and do we want to make sure that we have Micah's previous statements related to this as part of the public hearing?
I'll get my flow right.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, that's fantastic. Did a great job. We'll add them right in. And then with that, as part of the public hearing, I do think it's very important that we discuss some of our thoughts about this process and how we want to proceed forward, because this, quite frankly, will be precedent on how we handle our historic districts going forward. So to start, just to nutshell it, you got a house that, before we really established our historic districts, came in and did a significant amount of work to change the nature of the house. And even after we established our historic districts, the owner continued to do significant modification to the house to change the historic nature of the house. Before us is the question of, do we remove this home from the district because they've already done this significant work? Or do we keep it in the hopes and requirement and desire that they bring the house back to its historic standard? So, let's go from there. What do we think?
What? Go ahead, Joe.
I really don't see how it's gonna bring it back to the standards. I really
Right.
don't. It's been destroyed, the way I look at it now.
And why would I want to spend all the money and then spend more money to bring it back?
The house looks, it's the one I'm thinking about, it looks like, spikes
Yeah.
all the way around the fence. And there's, it looks like an industrial backyard. To me, I don't know how it meets with code, but they've done all this. And I hate to say it, but what's to stop someone else from saying, well, if this monstrosity here can make all of these changes, why can't I? That would be my question as a homeowner. It's my house. Yeah, I have a problem with that, but, to me, the house looks better than it's ever looked in my entire childhood that I've been here. really? Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
better than it's ever looked.
Yeah. And this wasn't done overnight.
Yeah,
It's
this is
been
several
over
years.
years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what was the committee looking at when it was being done? That's my
Yeah.
question.
I just don't want us to be so strict about this kind of thing that people don't want to come here because, when you buy a piece of property, you don't want any government official telling you what you can or can't do with it.
Well,
And as long as it's, presentable, I mean,
That's why we got they got, like say, the home's gotta be, like say, you're allowed to do this to your home. If I brought a property, I'm gonna look at it and see what the rules say I can and cannot do. That's almost like living in a neighborhood called a homeowner association. I may put a house in a homeowner association, but I'm bound by what the homeowners association say I can and cannot do.
well, and to piggyback on kind of both of your points. So these folks, when they first got here, those restrictions weren't in place.
right, okay.
We're not. And they started this work before those restrictions were truly put in place. And then I would say that we were very slow to get the information out that the restrictions were in place, and these folks continue to do this work.
Absolutely.
They've spent a significant amount of money already. And those tax rebates, those tax credits that we're talking about are at maximum, if my mind serves me correctly, 15% of the work being done.
Yeah.
They would have to still spend more money to get it back to historic standard. I would say at this rate, me personally, this house was far gone 3-4 years ago before we got our act together as far as historic standards are concerned. I'd say take it out.
I think so too.
I
When
agree.
did we establish a historic district?
I think it's like 3.5, maybe 4 years ago now, because it was actually while I was on the Historic Properties Commission. Before, well, 5 years ago now. And then once I became a council member, they actually got fully established.
And
And
people in the district have the option to, or a say-so in what the district was gonna be, if they already live in it?
If
well,
they're
I
already
was,
living
I was on the Historic Properties Commission years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a map. We had houses that were a part of the historic community. Those, I think there's 4 of them, 4 plaques, 4 very expensive plaques are out there, and they were done a
there.
lot
They were, yeah,
longer
they were in the
than,
district.
yeah, a lot longer than 3 or 4 years.
The answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
Just like any other ordinance, map amendment, anything we do as far as town. Public hearing after public hearing after public hearing. And the standards for particularly historic districts, that was a lengthy process to make sure that public input and the opportunity for public input was given.
I think my concern is that, you know, Selma is a small town, and we have people moving in that can buy these houses and make them presentable, but they might not have the money to stick to historical blueprints. And so, you know, just, we had a case where a guy wanted to put a rail on his porch to keep his grandchild from falling off. And he was very upset with the fact that he had all these hoops to jump through just to put railings around his porch.
Well,
You know,
it was a long time ago. I was the chair. There was a business in town. They changed something in their business. I came to the meeting one night, the place was packed. So these things have been in place for a long time.
yeah,
You might not see Selma as Newbern, but we had a business over here in town. Well, there was a thing of, they wanted to put up a vinyl fence. They were in the historic district. They were made to put up a wooden fence. So you're either gonna have to take the line of, well, we do have a historic district, or we don't. How much enforcement are we gonna have?
yeah.
And when you live in a neighborhood that has an HOA, you know it because you're writing that check out every month for that. But there may be people who don't even know where the maps are. The maps have been in place, I know, since I've been on it for 15 or more years, because we had a Christmas open house one year. It rained that night, and a friend and I went around to the historic homes, and that was how that committee made a little bit of money. They charged a fee for you to go, so you have to be real careful. Are we gonna continue with a historic district? Are we gonna be lax? This was some time ago, over 5 years ago, there was a Board of Adjustment meeting. Those people had already done things to their house. They were made to tear it all down. I mean, so you got to draw a line.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, wondering how far we really need to go with these things.
I just had 2 comments.
Okay.
First of all, a wooden fence can rot and fall down and the vinyl will not. Second thing is, how much is the town making off the historical district?
That question for
Anyone, anybody can answer.
So I would say that monetarily, there's no direct financial gain for the historic district. But I would say that from a cultural standpoint, when you mention Newbern, when you get a historic district right, that raises the value of your entire community significantly. But you do have to be very staunch and very serious about keeping your historic district. Of course, the same thing with this historic district. I think we'd be having an easier conversation because if somebody came in here and just wanted to tear down these buildings, we'd lose our lives. I hope. Because this is a draw. Because this doesn't exist much. If I came through and bulldozed that wonderful house that I was able to purchase not too long ago, people would lose their minds. And I think there's a couple of streets that we still have in that West Historic District where it would be wise of us, in order to raise the value of our community as a whole, that we have that piece carved out.
So what about the house that's being built behind you? Did that have to meet historic district
did.
standards?
They did. They got a COA and they have been bound to several caveats, even down to what type of siding they could use for the house.
So what are we talking about here? The house is already built now. What are we talking
So
about?
we're talking about taking it out of the district. Now, and I would say, again, back to my original statement, yes, because it's too
I
late for that.
agree, I agree.
Did the owners, do he kill one with the other?
I think the owner would prefer to come out. because they
Well,
wanna
that's
keep
what
that
I'm
house.
saying, no, but
You can
henceforth,
go by the house.
Yeah.
And I would, bet my next 2 paychecks, he'd want to be pulled out of the
well,
district.
like I said, if you want to be put out, then we say henceforth, no.
Yeah, and now we
That's
can
it,
know, because
you know.
everybody knows.
But if he was
May I
talking
add
about it,
And, well, let me ask real quick. Parents recommended by vote to pull it out.
They did.
Yes, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem too hard to me.
And
Well,
the Historic Property Committee, what were their thoughts on this?
Though the HPC dissolved and then absorbed into appearance.
They were-
They
This
were,
is before my time.
that's right, they were put in the appearance.
Yeah, parents does all that.
Yeah.
What did you want to add?
It's also worth noting, like, if they were to be removed from the district, they would still have to get permits like anyone else for any other zoning type of project. It's zoning permits and then potentially building permits from the county if, if required. I think their reasoning was the time, right? If you're going to do an exterior modification in the historic district, you've got to get a COA, which means you've got to be added to the agenda, which means you have to wait for that meeting to come around to potentially get told yes or no.
Right.
So, I mean, for their instance, I think it was the timely manner of things, wanting to still get permits, but just do the work faster with their permits. 'Cause
Yeah, I
now that they
remember.
know they need these things.
I remember this, back, in Raleigh, a few years back, this guy brought this property up there, someplace in Raleigh, got all the space from the town, did I work on it, then they said, oh, no, you couldn't do that, but they said, hey, all my ducks were in a row, this guy approved it, and it was like a historic district, he went it more like a industrial type,
It was in Oakwood.
Oakwood, and, same thing, so.
And I also would like to add that we have proposed things to the Appearance Commission to have some sort of staff level approvals for minor things, whether it's replacing your shingles for like replacement, things that are, things that the Appearance Commission would deem minor if they are willing to give that authority back to staff to approve small changes. Obviously, big things, new accessory structures, new homes, any sort of demolition, anything major would still remain under the purview of the Appearance Commission. But, it's up to them to decide what, approvals they want to grant to the staff.
Well, no, actually, that's up to us.
Yes.
Yes.
But they would make a recommendation. I also add to that, to your point, I have mentioned to staff, and I think I mentioned to appearance as well, that they might want to consider shrinking the entire district a little bit, because there are some houses that I believe are in there that don't have that significant of a historical value, and it would just be a burden for
Yeah,
those sort of staff to do.
That's a good
I just,
idea.
yeah, I think so. I just have a real concern because I can think of a couple of people right now that inherited homes over there that they're not in a financial position to fix them back to the way they were when we were young. They're not. And,
I can't say, and I have to disagree with that point, because I can't say we can sit here and worry about people's individual finances.
so you're gonna let the house fall down?
No, we would say, for instance, let me.
They gotta be allowed to repair it.
Let me give you this instance though. I mean, even when it comes to landlords and things like that, we can't look at everybody and say, hey, you don't have money to fix your house. We just gotta tell you, this is what you need to do, and you gotta fix your house. With that, do we have anything else to add to the public hearing? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're out of a public hearing. Before us, we have a ordinance to amend the official zoning map related to our historic districts. That would be removing 110 South Green Street. Do I have a motion to adopt that ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion there? Think it's the right move? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What do we have next?
All right. So I hope you're not too tired of me. Got a few more things.
It's good to see you, Mike, always.
Likewise. All right, the next matter at hand is a staff-initiated text amendment to Chapter 16, Article 8, which is the garbage and refuse collection and disposal, and that section's within our Code of Ordinances. This text amendment was recommended as presented from the Planning Board on August 26, 2024.
Hey, Mike,
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm gonna go ahead and open this public hearing.
Yes,
My man.
there we go.
Do I have a motion to open this public hearing related to this text amendment for our garbage ordinance?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
My man.
All right, now I'll spiel. This text amendment is in relation to dumpsters and how they will be regulated within the town. There are multiple amendments within the article, and if you have any specifics, I can answer them. You've had a chance to review everything. Yes, sir.
I want to go ahead and thank you as part of this hearing for you being proactive on getting this squared away, staff. This is fantastic. I know Dalton worked hard on this, Mike. I know you've been working hard on this. And this is a very short turnaround time from the request that was made, so thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
So do we need a moment to keep this public hearing open, or you want to go ahead and close it up? Close it. Do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and this one seems pretty straightforward. Do I have a motion to adopt this text amendment related to garbage and dumpsters?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. Thank you for that, and we got one more?
Yes, sir. Last but not least, the final matter at hand is another staff-initiated text amendment. This text amendment is in relation to Chapter 17.
Mayor, would you like to go ahead and open it up?
Yep, we'll go ahead and note it, thank you. Motion to open up this public hearing related to Chapter 17, and this is ordinance pertaining to the regulation of recreational vehicles. Have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing's open after you, sir.
Right. So this text amendment, another staff-initiated text amendment in relation to Chapter 17. Specifically, there are an amendment to Section 17-545 and Appendix C, Table 2, but we're also proposing a whole new ordinance be created, that one being 17-570. You all should have a printed copy of the latest revision of this ordinance. And in all transparency, the planning board recommended for approval what you see on the staff report on page 21. That recommendation was on August 26. However, after that planning board recommendation, myself and staff thought it would be beneficial to add in more language explaining the different types of RVs and their classes. All that was added after the planning board recommendation, and that's what you'll see in blue.
Mike, in reading this, I think I understood that any kind of RV can be in a mobile home park, correct?
So that was one of the things that we slightly changed. That's what's added there in blue. So motorhomes as well as the pull-behind trailer types. So pretty much everything but those truck campers, the ones you see that's like a little camper that's added onto a truck bed.
Okay.
We wouldn't allow those, but any motorhome or trailer type RV. So
Okay,
fifth
and-
wheels,
Yeah.
toy haulers, those types. I've learned more about RVs this past month than I ever knew.
Better than feral cats.
Can't be.
Sorry, I know more about feral cats than everyone. So what you basically do is just separate mobile home parks and RV parks.
Yes,
And so you can have RVs in mobile home parks, but you can't have mobile homes in RV parks, correct?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. And the only other question I had is on Appendix C, Table 2. What does that mean?
That is a landscaping table that refers to some specific landscape requirements for RV parks. And I don't have that whole table in front of me. get that
That's,
to you.
that's good enough. I just wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure where that was.
And just for clarity, this piece in here about a attendant on duty, that doesn't necessarily mean on premises, but they must be available on duty.
I believe so, yes, sir.
All RV parks shall have a 24-hour attendant on duty for security and emergency purposes. So that's contact purposes, not necessarily on location purposes.
I'm not sure how North Point does it, but I know they have a like office facility, and I feel somebody might be staffed there 24/7. But yeah, having some sort of attendant that could be contacted if necessary.
But these are RVs
Yes,
within
ma'am.
an existing mobile home park.
Yes.
So you don't, when I hear an attendee, I think about an RV park that you go and
Yes.
you rent a cabin, a tent space, where you bring your fifth wheel in, or your drivable home. So, thank you.
So I also, got the knowledge that, they're using them there, so if there's some people coming in doing construction and stuff, they have a place to park and have a place to go and wash and take a bath and stuff.
Yes, sir.
So when their work's done, they move on to somewhere else.
There's been interest in the town for the allowance of RVs in existing mobile home parks.
Yes.
It's kind of the driving force behind this.
Looks good to me. All right, do I have I'm sorry, do we have anybody else who'd like to speak as part of the public hearing? Do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with that, we need to take up whether or not we want to adopt these amendments to section 17. Do I have a motion to adopt these amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I believe we have something on the town attorney's report.
Yes, I will be brief, but it is in reference to the Max G. Creech Museum at 104 West Anderson Street. So essentially, there was a deed done in 2011 to the Selma Development Partnership, Inc. There was a provision in there. It was essentially what's called an executory interest. So it outlined if the owner ceased to use the property as a visitor center or as the Max Gardner Creech Museum, that it would revert to the town automatically. And so the town would be required to use it either as a visitor center or as the Max Gardner Creech property museum. And in the event you don't approve it or you cease to use it for that purpose, it would then transfer to the Edgerton Memorial United Methodist Church. So what you have before you is a deed to consider, if that is something the town is interested in, if you would like to either utilize it as a visitor center or to continue using that as a museum. And in that event, the deed proposed would be signed by the Selma Development Corporation. I believe, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, they're ceasing to operate or they're winding down their affairs. And so that's kind of why the ball is shifted over into our court.
So I guess simple thing. Do we want to take on the location at 104 West Anderson Street, Max G. Creech Museum, for either that purpose or for a visitor center? Do I have a motion to take on the deed of 104 West Anderson Street, Max G. Creech Museum?
Just for your information.
Yes, sir.
What I had is, they had an issue on utility bill, just to understand. If you would like, you add in this motion that any outstanding, utility bill we take on.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's good. Does anybody have any heartburn about that? Well, with that, do I have a motion?
So I can you tell us the amount?
Not exactly, but it's around.
Okay, that's all I want.
They did have a leak before.
That's good. I mean, as long as they ain't 2,500,000, 2,000. Okay.
Way to check, my man. That's all right. So with that, do I have a motion to not only, accept the deed for 104 West Anderson Street, Max G. Creech Museum, but also, take on the outstanding utility bills related to that property as well?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. Done and done. All right, do we have anything else, town attorney's report?
That's it for me.
Thank you. With that, council members' report and recommendation. Mayor Pro Tem, you'd like to start?
Yes, first I'd like to say, we just did our railroad day this past weekend, and, it was nice. And I appreciate the town and the people in this town for supporting us, you know, because we can have all the, put on all the function around here, but if the public does not come out to attend it, it don't mean much. So we're glad to see all the people that come out to see it. And I was mentioning, we started out this journey 5 years ago, and I said, no, Selma's got to find something to entertain its citizen. And thought about things and tried to change some things, and people got upset about it. But there's a movie out, and I think you might have about a baseball team, and I think it was Ozzie Davis talking about Fields of Dream. He kept saying, "What do you see? What do you see out there?" And he said, "If you build it, they'll come." So we started, and little by little we have progressed up. And then on Saturday, I was on stage up there, and I looked down the street, and I saw all these people. Walked around and saw all these food trucks and all, and I said, well, we're building it, and look out, they are coming. So I want to thank everybody, because there's nothing that us five can do. It's a whole complete town. It's a we. I didn't do it. Nobody did it by themselves. It's the community and the town of Selma. So I said to everybody here, and everybody's gonna hear my voice, is that let's keep working together to build and aim for higher things. Cause like I said, as good as we seem to have it now, it can be so much better. You can never get to the top of anything if you keep trying. So let's not sit back on our laurels and say, oh, we had a nice railroad day this weekend. But that's all well and good. But let's say next year we'll be building to that. So always strive for something better. Never sit back and pitch someone in the back, because if it wasn't for a higher power, we couldn't accomplish anything anyway. So thank you.
What he said.
Fantastic.
You did a great job. Nothing else for me to say. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
It's very difficult to go after Joe.
I
He
know.
says everything just so beautifully. But I want to say, first of all, I went to the pageant. That was a lot of fun. I've been there for the last 3 years, and it's just incredible to see those little girls and the young ladies, the things they do. It's really takes a lot of guts, bravery to walk across that stage. They're going to teach a lot of people a lot of things. And railroad days, tons of people. I could hear a band. I'm real into the bands. I love hearing that. You know you're at a parade when you hear a band. But I want to thank staff, all the volunteers who helped out to make this a really nice weekend. Thank y'all for coming too.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Overby.
So I also want to dab on Amy a little bit. I do staff. You've done an awesome job. It was a hard time to get to where we were at, and I know there's a lot of work to be done after the railroad day was over. I appreciate your work and what you've done. I like the parade that we had with all of our equipment in the parade. I just like to remind our staff, those are brand new vehicles. We are not buying anymore, so we need to take care of them. It's yours.
In time, we will get you more. Thank you, Councilman. first, little business to fall back into. We have from the state a requirement to take a look at our lead and copper inventory. It's an actual requirement now that of course costs money. Thankfully, there's grants out there that can help us do that so that we aren't left flagging in the wind with a unfunded mandate. So I need us to take up adopting a resolution to seek grant/loan funding for lead and copper inventory. So with that, do I have a motion adopting a resolution to seek funding to take up lead and copper inventory?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion there? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. You know, these things come down regularly. You know, it's hard to deal with unfunded mandates, but there are ways that if we do the work and seek the funding, we can get it handled in the town of Selma. Next piece, as we discussed previously, our desire to make some relief for those who have been hit with code enforcement fines, particularly related to sanitation, excuse me, and grass code enforcement penalties. So with that, we do need to make a motion to temporarily amend the fee schedule to match our desires to allow folks to see the Board of Adjustment for $40 related to sanitation, code enforcement fines, and grass overgrown vegetation fines. Do I have a motion to make that amendment to the fee schedule? That's the $40 to the Board of Adjustment instead of $500.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. I think it's a good move, particularly as we get used to the changes of us going back to enforcing our ordinances, that we do supply that temporary leave for this first period of serious code enforcement. All right. Going back to Commissioner Godwin mentioning the havoc in western North Carolina. I believe, you know, Johnston County did the heavy lifting of getting supplies collected and taking them to western North Carolina last week. Selma chipped in on our part as well to make sure we had a collection location here at the fire department. I think we put out a Facebook post, and probably in a matter of half a day, they filled up one trailer immediately. And then over the next 2 days, they filled up another trailer. And then we have another trailer that has gone about halfway full, even after we've said we're done. So we're going to figure out what we're going to do with those as well. I just want to thank the town of Selma, our citizens, for the generosity, showing compassion, showing care, and collecting and doing for those in need, those who have been hit hard in Western North Carolina. That's a fantastic, fantastic thing. I do want to go back and ask us to take up a vote as far as our Johnston County Senior Services ability to use the Harrison Gymnasium for free to do a fundraiser for the senior center, particularly the Harrison Center for Active Aging. I think it's important that, particularly with our municipal community partners, we partner as much as possible to help those services continue throughout the county. Do I have a motion to offer that Harrison Gymnasium to the senior services for free?
So moved.
Second.
Question.
Discussion, absolutely.
Is this a one-time thing?
For them, yes.
Which
It's a one-time thing.
okay.
Yeah, for just this particular fundraiser instance, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
Very cool. Thank you all very much. And then we go back to that police department vehicle discussion. We introduced it briefly at our last meeting. Again, something Councilman Overby was staunch on, saying, hey, we don't want to lose good police officers on minor mileage rules for their take-home vehicles. Do I have a motion to officially amend the policy to allow our take-home vehicle police officers to take that vehicle 30 miles out from our town And then with that, leave that parked at an approved site if they live further than 30 miles to recover the vehicle at that site.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for staying on top of that, Councilman Overby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Got ourselves a new policy there. Thank you all. Anything we can do for our first responders, for our police department, we're gonna try to do it. Public Power Week is this week. Woo! We got t-shirts to go along with it. Anybody have a green t-shirt handy? What's that Public Power Week t-shirt? Yeah, we are a public power community, and we know the wonders of being a public power community because
I don't.
when things happen in town, we got folks right around the corner that'll take care of us. Thank you. So everybody remember it's Public Power Week. Let's celebrate. It's good times, public power community. Absolutely. On November 9th, after our open forum on November 9th, the open forum's at 1 p.m. At 2 p.m., there'll be another ride along with the mayor so that you can poke around town and learn about all the cool things that are happening. I believe registration for that will open up online soon. You do need to register to join that ride along, but hopefully I'm able to give decent information about all the amazing things that are happening in the town of Selma. November 9th at 2 p.m. Got to go and brag on first responders again. Firefighters, you guys are back at the top of the pile again there. Electric was doing it for a while. Gonna get back to the firefighters now. Firefighters Jordan Salter, Hunter Easton, and John Furr were just out and about, I believe coming back from maybe the store, and they noticed a young man who appeared lost and needed help riding his bike down Webb Street. They tried to stop and talk to the child, but the child just wouldn't speak to him and rode away. They came back, got the truck, and followed the child with the fire truck and called the police for assistance. And it ended up that the child had been missing, and this child actually was autistic. And simply because they decided to pursue, and when they saw something, they said something, they reunited this child with their family. It's a reminder that if you see something, say something. I feel like we are always begging folks, just call 911. If you see something, say something. If there's something curious, there's something strange, just go ahead and make the phone call. Great if it's not a problem. If it is a problem, you've done something wonderful for somebody somewhere. All right? Conversation about community. We're going through changes in town of Selma. They are pretty awesome changes. When you have a shopping center open up where now everybody can go burn all their money at Academy Sports and Hobby Lobby, you'll see restaurants popping up soon in that same area. You'll see new homes. With that comes economic pressures that are going to affect some of our most vulnerable in this community. And you've heard this dangerous G word, gentrification, that happens in a community, particularly when you forget about your most vulnerable, when amazing things are happening. That conversation about the ability to clean up one's home, the ability to have rental property that's in decent condition. That's where community comes in. Your civic groups, your individuals, your neighbors helping neighbors to make sure that we understand the pressures that people are facing as this change happens. And we act as a community to help relieve those pressures on our most vulnerable. So do keep that in mind. I do believe we've seen communities lose their community feel as they grow. I tell everybody, I'm not sure if anybody who lives in Fuquay, Varina, or Apex knows where Fuquay, Varina, or Apex came from or what their history is. I hope that is not ever the case in the town of Selma. So let's keep this amazing community feel that we have as we continue to do amazing things and keep that balance at the crossroads of tradition and innovation. I do believe we need to go into a closed session this evening. Is that correct? Do we know under what statute we need to go into closed session on?
Under subsection 6, to discuss matters related to personnel.
Thank you very much. With that, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.